Is up, African Fight Fam? It's your boy JB back at it again with another episode of the African Fighters Podcast. Yes, the situation today is not looking very good picture wise. However, before we get into all my ramblings, this is the African Fighters Podcast. This is where we discuss everything and all things African fighters in the space of combat sports. And today we've got a couple of topics to talk to you guys about. We're going to talk about last night. We're going to react about UFC Manchester. We saw Belal Mohammed defeating Leon Edwards in, I don't want to call it a snooze fest, but we'll get into that. There's a lot of talking points. And
Not a snooze
uh,
fest, bro.
yeah, and what this means for our champ, Kamaru Usman, who is an African fighter. So you see how we slip that in. We're going to talk about Manel Kape losing to Mokaev and everything around that fight with regards to Mokaev not being signed by the UFC anymore. We're going to talk about a bit about some social media controversy that we saw. Themba, Gorimbo, and Dricus Duplessis going back and forth on our Instagram page, which is incredible to see and also sad as well. We'll talk about the reasons why that is. We'll talk about African MMA fighters in the UFC losing last week. We missed an episode last week. We're gonna talk about Igeu Kabesa. We're gonna talk about Losene Keita. And we'll do a bit of fantasy booking. Yes, but before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce you the president, Israel Adesanya fan club. That's none other than King Dems from London, England. King Dems, how you doing, my brother?
Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm excited for this one. I'm doing great.
Y-
I'm doing great, my brother. Weather is better.
Yeah,
Uncle Yagi.
yeah.
Oh, yes, Uncle Yagi. Oh, Uncle
Where
Yagi is
is Uncle
chilling in the
Yagi?
US.
eBay's fight predictions. I also miss Uncle Yagi. Uncle Yagi is too busy for us. He's a big shot now in America. He doesn't have our time. I'm joking. Respectfully,
It's
Uncle Yagi
chilling,
is
yeah.
he's very busy to come up on here, but I really, really miss his hot takes. Uncle Yagi always clutch with those. Yeah. How you doing? Before we get into UFC last night, how are you doing, King Dems? How
Uh,
is everything?
my bro, I'm good. Summer vibes. I'm glad the weather. Come on, clocking in.
Have you gotten have you gotten a chance to, uh get into uh get your sleep back because you were obviously not sleeping last night.
Oh
Have you gotten a chance?
yeah. I caught a little bit of sleep. But yeah, I think I need to catch the sleep tonight. That's the real one. I had to take my bath to energize for this one.
All right, let's get straight into it. Okay. UFC last night, main event in Manchester at the Co-op Arena. Belal Mohammed defeating Leon Rocky Edwards. Leon Rocky Edwards has successfully defended his title twice in two fights that are not very exciting for the welterweight. Okay,
Mm,
I'm
mm.
slipping in this because I want to give props to Kamaru Usman because we missed that guy. When Usman was champion, he was tearing it up. Anyways, Leon Edwards now lost to Bilal Mohammed, and I think the scorecard was 48, 47, 48, 47, and 49,
49 for the six.
46.
Mm.
Yeah. First of all, I know that you have been saying that Bilal will win. I think you are one of the few people in this life that thought that Bilal
Remember
will
the
win that fight.
name. I've been
And the thing
following Belal
is,
since 2018, bro.
I was going to say
So
this. I was going to say this from the early days of me and you talking about UFC. You mentioned this guy because you told me that his nickname, remember the name his
mhm.
nickname, remember the name, is too ballsy for someone to use. Like if you believe in yourself that much that
Yeah.
you would actually name yourself, remember the name. First of all, were you surprised?
I was not surprised. Go on. If you saw what I was posting on our fight groups, right? I sent a screenshot of my betting ticket, and then it was clear Belal was my peak. I was chatting to Themba Gorimbo right? Last night, we're exchanging chats during the
Mhm.
event. And then I told him, like, I'm going with Belal for the main event. I know Leon is your boy, but I'm with Belal on this one. And
And
then
what did
after the
Themba
main
say?
event, when he saw it, he just put the laughter emoji. I was like, wow. I said, bro, you just you have to be with me on this one. But I don't know. Like he was supporting Leon, but I hope he took it well.
Yeah, but what did you think was the reason why Bilal was so successful and dominated that fight, except for like the laters of the fifth round?
So the thing is, I predicted this thing, right? So I will not say I had any element of surprise, right? So I was one of those few people who strongly believed that Bilal would win. So I have, like I said previously, I started watching the UFC in 2018, and coincidentally, Belal was one of the first set of fighters that I ever saw in an event. And then the name just stuck with me. Remember the name, and then something just told me this guy's going to be successful, right? I always like motivational, names. I'm a big fan of manifestations, and I'm like, okay, I started following the career trajectory. So I've seen the improvements he's made in his game, and at the point where he started training with Khabib and the Dagesani brothers, right? It just struck me that this guy is going to elevate to championship material and he's going to win the championship, right? So I knew he was going to put on that relentless pressure. And another thing is this: Leon Edwards underrated Belal, right? He was thinking it was the Belal that he fought in that previous fight. However, between, was it, when did they fight? When did they have the first fight? I think, was it
I think
2020 or so?
yeah, it was in the pandemic, if I believe, from the
Yeah,
Apex.
yeah, around
Yeah.
2020 or 2021. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Like Belal was going into the fight, and Belal took your biggest shots, and you do not realize that this guy is a tough as nails competitor. No problem. We saw Belal beat Sean Brady. We saw him beat Gilbert Burns, right?
Mhm.
Belal is battle tested. So he's beaten credentialed fighters, and then he's been battle tested. And of course, he's been training with people with championship mindset. There's something with training with people that are champions. It just elevates your game. And many thanks to Khabib and the Dagestani brothers, they elevated his game, and it is what it is today. Welcome to the Belal era. Belal, remember the name Mohammed. And on a light note, DC almost did not remember the name. During the the post-fight interview, he said, the welterweight champion of the world, Leon Edwards. Oh, sorry, Belal Mohammed. He still forgot the name, but you always have to remember the name.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely correct. Um, to be honest, I was one of those people that did not give Bilal Muhammad a chance in this fight, mainly because I was doing my judgment from their previous fight.
Come
I
on,
think
you cannot do
I
that.
was in the same school of thought as the bookmakers, because obviously in the betting odds they did not favor Bilal. The betting odds, I believe, if Bilal would only win 3 out of 10 fights if he fought Leon 10 times, he would win three. That's the chances that the betting guys
Yeah, it was really,
gave
really
Bilal.
disrespectful, and I'm pained I did not stake a fortune on that fight, right? Because see, let me give you context. If I had staked £1,000 on Bilal to win, it means I would have had a return of £3,000. That is massive. So they're telling you that they don't really believe Belal will win. Belal has, a very low implied probability of winning. And you and I am not a casual, right? I like to believe I'm not a casual of this sport. I've paid my dues in this sport, right? For you not being a casual of this sport, for you being an educated, follower of the sport, you would understand that Belal had a clear path to victory, and it is very disrespectful to have actually put that kind of odds on Belal Muhammad.
Now let's jump into what this means for the welterweight division. Bilal has said that he's not going to give Leon a rematch.
He
Obviously,
does he
before
does not
Leon
deserve
agreed,
it.
because obviously before Bilal got to fight Leon, Leon was playing like the 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 person that when you brag about holding all the cards. Leon
Hmm.
refused to fight Bilal. He was even looking at fighting another division instead of fighting Bilal. He had to be forced to fight Bilal. And now Bilal is returning the favor. But in my opinion, there is no clear-cut number one contender in the welterweights. It almost feel like all the contenders in the welterweights need one more win so they can cancel each other out to fight for the title. We're talking about the JDMs of the world. We're talking about Gilbert Burns of the
Abashafkat.
world. We're talking Shavkat Rahmanov. We're talking about Kamaru Usman, the former champion. But it almost seems like they all need one win to fight to challenge Bilal. And at this point, it almost feels like okay, it's August soon. Does that mean that we would likely get a welterweight fight in December or next year, a title fight? Because that's what it's starting to look like. But me, what I'm interested in is Kamaru Usman. What might be the path
We
to
can have a title
being another
eliminator.
champion? Yeah, but here's the thing. A lot of people don't know, but you guys should remember this moment, right? I'm calling it.
Remember the
Honestly,
name, remember the pain.
not just that I'm calling it, but I know for sure that Usman is going to fight JDM.
Okay.
That is some insider knowledge stuff. So
I'll
do
take that
you
over him fighting Shafkat.
but do you think Usman can beat JDM?
I think he can beat JDM, but Shafkat, I'm very scared of that guy. That guy is a killer.
Hmm.
So I think JDM is a path of least resistance, if we're being honest. So the options are JDM, Shafkat, and Ian Gary, right? So I
Hmm.
think amongst the three options, I think JDM is the path of least resistance amongst those three guys. So I think he should be able to stand his ground against JDM.
Let's see what Shafkat has done. Let's see his body of work in the UFC. He joined the UFC when he was 13 and 0. And ever since he got to the UFC, he has won 6 fights in a row. Talking about Shafkat, he beat Alex Oliveira, he beat Michel Prazeres, he beat Charleston Harris, then he beat Neil Magny, gatekeeper, he beat Geoff Neal, gatekeeper, and then he beat Wonderboy Thompson, another gatekeeper. All these names I mentioned, do you think there's any name there that is warranting him to be a number one contender, or does it look like okay, there should be one more solid win before we can give you a title shot? The welterweight division is very notorious for fighters sitting on their spot, but I think I've been talking too much. I'll pass it to you. What do you think is going to happen?
So, like we rightly said, there's a need for a title eliminator of some sorts, right? And remember, if only this guy Hamza Chimaev, right? If he were actually healthy and making welterweight, he would have been in that title conversation. But apparently right now he has his health issues. That's one person that we could actually say has that star power, because aside from beating contenders, right, you also need that star power with the UFC. We saw how the UFC fast tracked Sean O'Malley, from being ranked number 11 to fighting Petr Yan, ranked number 1, and then he skipped the whole top 10. So if the UFC feels like you're commercially viable, it doesn't really matter who you have actually beaten on the pathway to the title. So Shafkat seems like the UFC's golden boy, and they have built him into looking like this very fearsome animal. So do not be surprised
Well,
if they giving him a
let me
title
put
shot.
on my Dana White hat.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to talk like a matchmaker, or I should
By the
say
way,
like a
Dana White was
promoter.
not happy yesterday
Of course he wasn't. Of course he wasn't. What was exciting about that? What was exciting about that?
about the card.
They've got a live wire in Mokaev causing chaos. They've got he obviously, as a promoter, because you don't want to sign Mokaev, you would want Manel Kape to take his O. And Manel Kape, obviously, building a contender from that, you didn't get to do that. You already have an issue with the welterweight division. The top two guys are not sellable. You can't sell Leon Edwards and you can't sell Belal Mohammed. So, what is there to be happy about? The only person that can be sellable is the interim heavyweight champion, whom, as I said, interim, because the heavyweight division is being held by John Jones. So,
Certain
as
John
a
Jones.
promoter, I wouldn't be happy. As a promoter, if I look at the welterweight rankings, who is going to bring me the most money? Because the UFC, whether you like it or not, it's a business. Whether you like it or not, they
That
still do the pay-per-view model. And one of their
mhm.
biggest revenue draw is the pay-per-views. Pay-per-views mostly for American fans. American fans go by, they pay to watch pay-per-views. That's why it's called pay-per-views. And the amount is very big on ESPN Plus. So you have a problem in the welterweight division. You used to have a fighter that could draw in Kamaru Usman. Obviously, right now Usman is on his last run. The only thing I would want as a promoter is getting Usman in there so he can probably pass the baton to somebody else who would be a bigger draw for me as well. So I would want, as if I was Dana White, I would want Usman to fight the easiest fight among the top contenders. As
Path
you
of least
said, it might be,
resistance.
yeah, you said it might be JDM. If Usman wins, Dana
Ah,
White is going to be
it's
like,
a no, it's
next
no
title shot.
brainer.
That's why I'm going to draw you guys' attention back to when Usman fought Chimaev. Usman's name was on that card, and then I was like, anybody that wins that fight is going to be
It's
the
going
number
to
one
fight
contender for the middleweight
for the
title,
middleweight
right?
title. Yeah.
Usman did not win, and then the UFC ignored, like they said that they avoided everything. They acted like they never said that, right? Then they went ahead, they did Dricus versus Strickland, right? So if
Mhm.
Usman had won, that would have been Usman versus Strickland. They would have absolutely done it. That tells
And
you a lot
it would
about
have been a rematch.
what yeah, that tells you what the UFC thinks about Usman. They want him as a champion because he has been a draw for them. And Usman has started getting respect from fans.
Mhm.
um, I feel I feel like the UFC would absolutely want him to pick up the welterweight title again. So again, as I told you guys, from reliable source, Usman is gonna fight JDM. Sorry. Hopefully that reliable source will not watch this podcast and assume and stop telling me, stop giving me scoop. All right, let's move on, right? Manel Kape lost to Mohamed Mokaev, right? This is another fight that we are interested in because there is an Angolan Portuguese in there in the name of Manel Kape. Starboy Manel Kape and Mokaev have been playing a rerun of Usman versus Khabib. Sorry, Conor McGregor versus Khabib. All the antics, all the drama
Well, the
outside
fight was
of a fight.
disappointing. The
The-
fight itself was disappointing.
I actually watched that fight before I went to bed yesterday.
There were like
And
50
when
security
they both
men.
yeah, so it was in the prelims, right?
Hmm.
And I believe the UFC know that Manel Kape is not a prelim fighter. They decided to keep Manel Kape versus Mokaev in the prelims just so to reduce the shine of Mokaev because they know they don't want to sign him, right? But everybody knows the build up of that fight and Manel Kape being there, both fighters ranked in the flyweight. Everybody know it's a main card fight, right? But
Hmm.
they decided to put it in the prelims because they want to fuck with Mokaev. So now that fight happened. Manel Kape made his entrance. He came in flying the flags of Angola and Portugal together. The crowd were booing, obviously, hometown of Mokaev. Um, he came in, the crowd booed him, and then Mokaev came out and the crowd cheered. Mokaev steps into the octagon. There was like a million security men in there, and Manel Kape charged into him, and then they had to hold him back. Oh my
It was
god! And you
it was
could
just a
hear
crazy
you could
scenario.
you could hear DC Daniel Cormier in his Jerry the King Lawler voice. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before. You guys just calm down 5 more seconds and you'll be into it, right?
Yeah, and you're
I
gonna
was
be
like,
paying
oh,
to fight.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, yes, this is it. This is the fight. We want to see real blood, real bad blood and animosity. I don't want to see these guys hug after the fight, right? And then the fight just started. And then both guys started to act like they have sense. When
Yeah.
5 seconds ago, they were acting like they don't have sense.
It
Uh,
became Adesanya
make,
versus Romero.
make it make sense. No significant strike until the final 15 seconds.
It's crazy. Like I was pissed off that Mokaev won that fight because easily the judges could have scored it for Manel Kape. The first two
I see
rounds.
what they mean about, honestly, I see what they mean about Mukaev's fighting style because in the first round, he was only looking for takedowns and then he was kicking from the outside, keeping distance. Whenever Manel Kape tried to close the distance, he kind of like circle away. That was the story. He was shooting and missing, shooting and getting stuffed. But Manel Kape got the significant strikes in the first round. But then that was the story of the fight, basically. Right? Mukaev was just looking for that takedown. So he did say there's a lot of drama about Mukaev, and we'll get into that. Um, and to be honest, I was not following too much with the background noise going on. I wasn't following too much. I did not even know there was a contract. There was a contract standoff between the
A
UFC
contract
and
issue.
Mukaev until when Mukaev said, grabbed the microphone and said, "Guys, do I not deserve a new UFC contract?" I was like, "Well, you probably would get one." I didn't know that the UFC was mad about it, and they know what looked pissed. He looked pissed. Something you guys don't know about the co-op arena is that the co-op arena is relatively brand new, and before it was supposed to open and then it got closed, open and then got closed because of the ventilation issues, blah blah blah. Even the UFC card was almost closed, and that would have been a big blow for the UFC. Anyways, I don't know if that had anything to do with Dana White being pissed. He also said he's never doing that 100K performance bonus because it did not
Yeah.
motivate anybody in this fight card. But let's get back to
Seven straight
Mokaev. Eh?
decisions.
When I was talking to you, I was like, online I saw people saying, "Oh, there's an obvious reason why the UFC would not sign Mokaev," and people were pointing at, "Oh, he's Dagestani, he's a Muslim, blah 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 blah." And I was thinking, well, there is a Muslim as a champion in the welterweight, not just a Muslim, but a Palestinian Muslim is a
Hmm.
champion in the welterweight. Also, a grappler, a heavy grappler, a wrestler, if you might call him that. There must be something else. It's not the wrestling, is it? What do you think?
I think, like I mentioned to you earlier, um, it's wrong timing for Makayev, right?
Mhm.
So he's actually been involved a lot in misbehaving. Yeah, let me put it. He's actually misbehaved lately. The incidents with Manor Cap was very very messy, and of course, Dana White mentioned it. Issues at the PI. How would you be attacking a fellow fighter at the PI? Like that's not professional, right? Do you think you're Conor McGregor? We know how much Dana White does not rate the flyweights, right? And of course, the UFC were trying to get him to renew his contract, but then he was holding on, trying to pull a Francis Ngannou on the on the who do you really think you are, right? The odds are stacked, against you. You are a flyweight, right? You are caught up misbehaving, right? And you're not involved in, Dana White and the UFC, they don't like religious affiliations, if you notice, right? So Mokaev had this picture with what's his name, with Madakap, stating, "Oh, let's demonstrate peace for our Muslim brothers." And then after the picture, he just sucker punched Manel Cap. That's not a right way to behave, right? So you are holding on to the contract situation, right? And then you're still acting in ways that are not right, and then you're misbehaving towards your fellow fighters at the PI. So I think it's just a combination of issues, and Dana White is not in a good mood at the moment. So I hope they get this resolved. He's a young fighter. He's highly talented. So I think if he's able to get probably someone like Ali Abdelaziz, right, who is a good negotiator with the UFC to help him plead his case, the UFC might want to get him back.
Uh, I honestly don't think the UFC would wanna sign because Dana White sounded pissed, right? I know they don't like fighters putting them in a stalemate, right?
Hmm.
And
They don't
I've
like it,
watched a
and
lot of
you even have a boring style, so to speak.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think the reason why, well, we are not in those negotiation meetings, right? But the reason why Dana White said, "Oh, the PFL will get an undefeated fighter."
yeah,
The reason why he said that is probably because Mokaev was flashing that undefeated record in their face, saying, "Oh, I'm undefeated, so I deserve to get this amount of money, or I'm this, or I'm that." And obviously, it's not just the fighter; it's also his agent. I don't know if the agent is the one that is advising him that he is more than what he is, but this to me seems like it's because, to be honest, those antics that fighters do kind of like sell fights more on stage. You saw them almost getting into a scrap, they had to pull them apart. But here's the thing, that last incident that they had, Manel Kape was bleeding and it put that fight in jeopardy. That fight could have been cancelled,
hmm,
right? So if you can be reckless like that and act like a thug, then Uh, yo, let me give a shout out to our comments, man. Themba, the answer, Cinderella man, Gorimbo. Say African fighters now, we. Jesse Dunaway says, sorry, I'm joining late. Shout out Jesse Dunaway.
shout
He said
out.
he is signed to Paradigm Management. Yeah, that those guys are reputable, aren't they? So, but to be honest, in my experience of, not that I have any experience dealing with Dana White, but I think it has nothing to do with the wrestling. I actually think that he strong armed himself.
Out- into the
Uh,
madness.
oh my god, look at this. I never thought about this. By the way, Angola is a country of basketball and they have two amazing arenas in Angola. They actually have an arena of 24,000 people, which is massive. Wait, am I shooting too much? Is it 24,000 or 18,000? They likely, I think they have the biggest, maybe Egyptians have,
Oh wow, it's
but they
because of
actually
tribes in
have a,
West Africa.
yeah, they've got a massive arena there. They are starting to have a bubbling MMA scene. They've got this Mukisi guy fighting in African knockout. They've got the Matt Pena fighting in South Africa and France. Yeah, Manel Cap versus Pantoja in Angola would have been massive, wouldn't
That
it?
would have
And
been that would have
to
been
be honest,
a good one.
I don't think that this L really does that much to stop that fight from happening. Because, in my opinion, apart from
It was a very close fight.
uh yeah, apart from that guy, the guy that was doing a trilogy with Figueredo, that Mexican boy,
Brandon
uh
Moreno.
Brandon Moreno. I think
Yeah.
Manel Cap is the most popular guy right now in the flyweights because of his antics with Kai Kara France, his antics with Israel Adesanya in Australia, and now with Mokaev. People are starting to remember him. It's just that he couldn't get a win together. You could say he was a bit lucky in that fight because he broke his toe, didn't he? And
Yeah,
then
he
in the
broke his
middle of
toe.
the fight, he bent down and he
Yeah.
fixed the
And he
toe.
fixed the
And
toe
you
back.
yeah, and you
That
saw
was
that he was not
gangster.
putting pressure on it. Did I give you
Yeah.
flashbacks of Cedric Doumbé when Cedric Doumbé had a splinter on his
Oh
leg?
yeah.
It gave me a
The
bit of
PFL
flashback.
kid. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, this is gangster. Mine was a plan. Wow. I was
yeah.
very pissed off. But really, what kind of weed were the judges smoking? Because I don't know. For me, I feel like that fight should have been judged 29,
By
28
damage?
Manel Cup. Yes, because
Nah,
Mokaev
I don't think so.
yeah, he was throwing more, but he did not land damage. The scoring criteria is damage, right? Damage is
I don't
the
think so.
highest criteria.
I think
So
if we were judges, I absolutely wanted Manel Cap to win, but I think he got at least 2 rounds there. Mokaev got 2 rounds there,
even when
even though it
Mokaev took him
wasn't
to the
interesting.
ground, even when Mokaev took Manel Cup to the ground, he was hitting him with the 12 to 6 elbows. which caused a lot of damage. You took somebody to the ground and then you are not even landing any damage. I don't understand. Maybe you should watch the fight again and see what I'm saying. Like, excuse me, that fight could easily have gone Manor Cap's way. I don't know what's Themba Gorimbo thinks on this one.
Also, not finishing or pushing fight against an injured opponent. The boy was running. Yep, he was not.
Like,
Every time I did say on the top of this segment, every
it
time
pisses me off.
Manel Kape tried to close the distance, he circled around. He circled around. He
He
only
was just
wanted to wrestle.
running.
He didn't want to strike. Obviously, we know how devastating Manel Kape striking is. But I am as disappointed as you guys is. Um, well, Manel Kape, we know what how he struggles to make weight as a flyweight, and we know the sacrifices that fighters. We actually don't even know the sacrifices that fighters make to make weight, and for him to finally make weight at flyweight at a big event, and obviously his placement in the prelims was due to Mokaev. It wasn't his fault because he's big enough to put him in the main card. He thought he should come out here and put a show, and obviously this happened. I do know that he picked up some injuries when they had the scruffle between him and Mokaev, and he still insisted on fighting because he probably has the record of the most cancelled fights. A very unlucky fighter he is. But um I honestly didn't even like this fight. I preferred him fighting Kai Kara in Australia. I really wish it was him fighting Kai Kara in
I'm
Australia
telling you,
next month.
it was a
Yeah,
very big mistake. Even Kara
yeah,
fans himself said it that he thought the UFC would have booked him against, Manor Cup. I wonder why they booked him against Mokaev. And Mokaev had
yeah,
the home advantage. To me, it's
yeah,
just the home
yeah.
advantage thing. Even the Leon fight, right? I see
Hmm.
home advantage in the scorecards because I don't see in any way, shape, or form how that fight was 48-47. That fight was 49-46. Clearly,
Yeah,
I don't understand why you want to
we
push.
all we all know that Themba is Leon's boy,
No,
and
no,
this is
no,
Themba's
I,
division.
no, I think
So
Themba is a
I
very
really
objective person.
wait
Themba, I want to know
before
what
you
your
go,
scorecards
Themba.
are.
We want to know your scorecard, Themba. Please type in your scorecard. Let's see if you can be biased or not.
No,
but
I
but
don't think Themba is going to be biased. To be honest, like we were having that chat, during the what's it called, the event, right? I even showed
Mhm.
Themba a screenshot of my bet account where I made my predictions and they were coming true. So it was quite a tricky night of predictions. But then I predicted Belal to win, and clearly Belal got that win.
Yeah, Jesse Dunaway. We want to hear your scorecard. Oh boy, Themba did say Leon lost all rounds except for the
What did I
third
say?
round.
What did I say? Like, Femba, even though he's your boy, like the truth needs to be told. You just have to tell the truth the way it is. So I wonder what kind of cheap drugs the judges were on, right? Sometimes I feel like I can even do a better job than some of these judges, right? See the truth and just say what it is. Tell it the way it is, not because you're in England, you're trying to score the fight for the champion.
Yeah, Jesse thinks it's
49
49-46.
46.
Just as one of the judges did give, for more context, one of the judges did give the fight 49-46 to Belal. All right. Moving on. Uh, I don't know how we can segue to this. All right, Themba is here and never winning. Leon never winning that title ever again. You know why Leon wouldn't win the title? I think Themba knows why, and it's because the UFC would never put him in a position to win it again. Leon is not getting another title shot. He's British. They came to England twice. He did not move any needle. Uh, he was gone shy. Doesn't love getting into the fire. When he does, he gets wobbly.
Yeah, he
Huh.
underrated Belal's striking. He did underrate
Mm.
Belal's striking, and Belal, has improved his striking over time, and he uses the striking to close in on you and get the takedowns. That is just his style. We saw it with Sean Brady. We saw it with Wonder Boy Thompson. We saw it, you know, that is his style, and it's difficult.
Yo, Jesse, before you got in here, we already have match made for JDM. And according to some insider news, we've heard that it's already made. The fight is already made, JDM versus Kamaru Usman.
Usman,
And
JDM. But
and
do you
at
see
this
Usman winning that fight?
I think so. And I say that with a very deep sigh. I think so, but I honestly need to go and refresh my brain again. But at the top
Okay.
of my head, I see Usman again has forgotten how to fight 3 round fights. That's his problem. He, he
He
he's
can be a
always
main event. He can be a main event.
a main
Yeah.
event of a non pay per view no of a fight night.
Yes, it could be a main or
Yeah,
a co-main event of a pay-per-view. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think
It can be a five-round
they do
co-main
those
event.
they do a 5 round for a non-title fight for something very special, and I don't think JDM Usman is that special.
Trust me, it is a special fight. It's a title eliminator. Come on.
Oh boy.
It is a
Oh
title
boy,
eliminator.
it doesn't seem like Usman is gonna fight JDM then. Oh boy. Oh boy, JDM apparently is injured. His arm is rotten. He's only back next year. Rotten.
What?
He's only
What?
back next year from oh boy. Oh boy. Damn.
What? That is bad
So
news.
do we see Usman versus Shafkat? Oh boy.
Shafkat is a
Who,
tough,
who
is a
is Usman gonna
tough nut
fight?
to crack.
Who is Usman gonna
Uh,
fight? Because I heard that there's something that's been signed, and was told it was JDM. So if it's not JDM, something has been signed. If you look at Usman's social media posting, he's back in training, and it looks like he's ready. He's getting ready to fight somebody.
hmm.
See, we've been saying the welterweight division has been in shambles. We need someone that can actually cut promos up there. We need a Themba up there that could actually grab a microphone and sell himself and sell the division and sell the
I'm
promotion.
telling you,
But
you sell the whole UFC.
Shafkat is not that guy. Usman versus Brady Burns winner. Ah,
That's a long
yeah.
that's a long shot. We need somebody
Mm,
that he can fight
cause
immediately.
yeah,
Because you
you know.
mentioned JDM, which you mentioned Shafkat, you mentioned one other person. I don't know who that was. Ian Gary, right?
Oh yeah, we've got Ian Gary in the picture, don't we? But you think
But
Usman beats Ian Gary?
yeah, he has a pathway to victory. It's not like, oh, it's a simple thing. But Usman gets the better of Gary. I think Gary is a bit overhyped. He's talented. No disrespect to Ian Gary. He's highly talented, but I think the hype is somewhat higher than the talent, and he should be a guy that Usman should be able to take care of.
All right. Let's segue into an uncomfortable conversation. Okay.
Get comfortable, being uncomfortable. Oh, by the way, even can you imagine Ian Gary versus Themba Gorimbo?
Oh wow.
How does that play out?
Let me see how that fight will play out. Ian, when he fought MVP, he decided to wrestle. Right? He can't out wrestle Temba. So he would try to strike. So he's not gonna try to wrestle Temba, he's gonna try to strike. And then Temba might try to wrestle then. That's actually an interesting that's actually an interesting one. Well, Themba already has a fight, guys. Themba the Answer Gorimbo is fighting in October this year against oh boy, let me just need to pull that up. Themba Gorimbo is going to be fighting. Where the heck is that fight? Oh boy. Oh yeah,
In
there you go.
October.
Nico Price.
Wow,
October
Nico Price. That's a
October
big name.
12th, Themba Gorimbo steps into the cage to face Nico Price. Witness Themba's relentless spirit
Oh,
as he takes on one of his toughest challenge to date. That
uh,
is from the African Fighters page. I'm
Nico
just
Price.
giving us a cheap plug. You know what? Let me just share my screen so that would be better for this next segment. Eh?
Wow. Nico
Uh,
Price he's a veteran of the game, you know. He's
yep,
been in some
yep.
tough
That
battles
is a fight. That is a fight to introduce Themba. But
to
so
the
October
big
12th,
leagues.
is that going to be another PI fight, Apex fight? You think so? You think it's gonna be another fight in the Apex?
Only Themba can tell us. Themba is the president of UFC Apex.
All right. So here is the uncomfortable conversation. All right. There is just a storyline of this. Themba, say- Themba says, "Hold up, guys! I got my fight October 12th at the Apex."
What did I
Themba calls
say?
him
President of the Apex.
king of the Apex. Themba right now is he's 3-0 in the Apex, isn't he?
UFC Apex
And
president.
yeah, he's 3-0 in the Apex, and this will be his fourth fight in a row in the Apex. Wouldn't that be nice to go for 4-0 in the Apex? And Themba, whether you like it or not, if you are going to fight a top challenger or maybe a title eliminator, or if you've gotten to the point to fight for the title, it's not gonna be in the Apex. So the juju you have in the Apex, you have to carry it with you to the big arena.
Themba
um
Gorimbo, my brother.
yeah, so earlier last week, there was a popular thing going on with Abdulrazak Alhassan, who was having a fight against Brundage, and he made a comment about Dricus, and he explained, but he used a lot of curse words. He explained why what Dricus said was disrespectful. He was talking about basically the gist of it. He's talking about fight immigrants, African immigrants moving outside of Africa to get a better life, to get a better opportunity to train and fight or whatever, and that was disrespectful what he said, right? And you guys keep note of the keyword. The keyword is African immigrants moving outside of Africa for something better, right? And
Mhm.
Themba agreed to what Abdurazak Al Hassan said, and this is what Themba said. I need to find that comment. You know what? We made a post about it, and Themba said, and I quote, "This topic is uncomfortable, and so is the fight. It's a very uncomfortable one. Does nothing for Africa actually than divide. If the fight was going to be done something for Africans, it would have taken place in Africa. Leaving
Mm,
Africa to train abroad is a must for all African athletes in MMA, which Dracos himself
exactly.
did before joining the UFC years back and even recently in Florida at Killcliff. Let's build and inspire our people instead of making these arguments. My advice to any African out there in MMA, if you can leave the continent and have an opportunity to go train overseas, please do, because there is more opportunities for you out there, and rise." This sounds innocent. This sounds innocent to me. This doesn't sound like anybody taking shots at anybody. And I believe everybody will agree, right? Except for
A
Dricos
certain
Duplessis.
South African.
Yeah, so the person in picture was Dricos Duplessis, and here is Dricos's response to what Themba said. "Yes, I did," talking about him leaving Africa. "Longest I've ever been out of Africa has been 6 weeks. I would. I told you I'll knock you out or make you tap again if you ever try to shake my hand again, you snake." This just escalated, didn't it? And
From zero
Themba,
to 100.
yeah, so Themba doubled down and said, "That's it. I don't hate him at all." Oh, no, no, no. That was Themba responding to somebody else. Let's see Themba's response to Dracus.
But
Oh
I
boy,
don't
it's quite
understand
a lot.
why Dricus is saying I'll make you tap or something. Like, has he ever fought Themba before? They were both in the EFC, and my memory doesn't.
I don't think they fought before. However, they might have trained before. I don't know because at some point, Dricus was a welterweight champion in EFC, and Themba was Themba a welterweight? I think he wasn't,
Uh,
was he? He
Themba
was
was
what? He was much.
welterweight. Dricus was
He
middleweight.
was more. No, no, no. In the EFC, Dricus was once upon a time a welterweight champion.
Oh, really?
So he fought. He actually fought in welterweight. I think he was double champ. He fought in middleweight as well. So Themba said, Dricus, hold up, champ. First of all, you are the snake, two-sided champ who talked to me inside the PI bathrooms, and when you were in front of your minions, you acted like you don't know me because you weak, also strong with minions. When did you tell me you knock me out? Bro, you may scare other people, but not me, okay? I was never and will never be scared to fight you. Ask EFC, they can tell you I took the fight 3 times. Matter of fact, I came back for you and you vacated the title. Secondly, you started this whole shit and you sent Neil to call me to try to intimidate me. Well, that didn't go well because I don't follow orders like the rest of other African guys on your team who actually say a lot more things within the team than most of us know about. Story for another day. Fact is, without taking sides, still stand. This fight does nothing for African MMA division. Africa needs unity and inspiration. By the way, you coming in my inbox telling me I acted poor and yet had business and a nice car in Africa. Shit happens, and I actually got broke helping African kids go after their dreams, something you would never know about. I don't have rich parents to fall back on, still help others. I wish you nothing but the best. That's being said, but don't think you get to like that. You can't beat me, but let's see this when we see each other in person. Wow.
Nice one.
Um,
Nice one.
keeping it classy, didn't he? So
Yeah, for sure.
Themba said we trained together years back. Of course, in training, I let guys win. He takes that as a badge. It's training. It's sparring. It's not.
Aspiring is a different ball game from
It's
competitive fighting, you know.
yeah, but the thing is, I think there's a little thing about fighters talking about what happens in sparring stays in sparring. You'll be a
Mm.
snake if you bring your fighting clips, your sparring clips out there. That's actually you being a snake. Anyway, so in my opinion, Temba said nothing wrong about fighters actually leaving to get more experience. This
Mhm.
could be related to someone like Igeu Kabesa. Igeu Kabesa is the a double champ in the EFC. Igeu is like the epitome of highest standards of fighter, MMA fighter inside of South Africa right now. But Igeu cannot break that ceiling and get himself better because everybody else look up to him, and he's the final bus stop, if that makes sense. So for Igeu Kabesa to get better, he needs to go outside of Africa.
Mhm.
Unfortunately for him, he's got issues with his passport or visa or immigration status or whatever it might be. He can't leave, so he keeps on beating everybody. He beats everybody up to the point that they are bringing fighters from Brazil for him to beat up some more. He's that good, right? But he can't leave South Africa. So that's exactly what Themba is talking about here. You've got to go out there and sharpen your iron. They say iron sharpen iron, and you need a better iron out there to sharpen your iron. So it's it's. I think when Dricus came out and said what he said, including calling Themba an idiot there, he was letting out what he actually thought about Themba. This is something that has been maybe in his mind. So so he probably didn't read the message properly, and actually that's on him. Maybe if he looks again, I don't think he cares anymore. Because for someone who is unapologetic about the things he said about Usman and Adesanya and Ngannou, if he is as unapologetic about that, I don't think he's going to see reasoning in this as well. So Themba said the last time we trained, I whooped. Boy, Themba said that the last time we trained, I whooped Draco's ass, and he didn't even want to take a pic with us after. Ask his teammates Marino, Nerek, Domat, Pena, I believe. I whooped him, and he was Oh boy.
Remember, you've not told us about the sparring with Strickland. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Themba said he's had a Strickland recently.
yeah. We saw Strickland also sparring with Alex Pereira recently,
Yeah,
didn't
Alex
we?
Ferreira. Yeah.
After that, he never wanted to train with me after that. But I didn't know that the Matt Pena is a CIT boy.
Well, they're mad.
Anyways,
Then, yeah.
anyways, that's a light-hearted way to segue from this topic. Let's talk about Igeu Kabesa. Igeu Kabesa defended his title recently, one of his titles in EFC, and again, Igeu makes it look easy. Igeu Kabesa is that guy.
Eagle flying high like an eagle.
You ask us, if you ask, why can't Igeu leave the country? Every time Igeu is going to leave, Igeu is going to leave. Igeu is the guy that is properly polished for something like a Dana White Contender Series. You know what? Igeu doesn't even need that. He needs to get signed ASAP. And I think the UFC are looking at him, but the problem is they cannot bring him. The only positive I see of this happening is last night's press conference. Dana White did say that it would likely be South Africa that the UFC event will happen. I don't know if Dana doesn't know the details properly because there is more talks about other places than actually South Africa. He also did mention a lot of people do not look South Africa as an African country.
Yeah, it's proper Africa.
Yeah, so but he knows about that narrative out there. So I feel if South Africa, UFC goes to South Africa, then Igeu Kabesa can fight there. Then he can make his debut there. But the way it's looking, that passport or that visa or whatever case it is really holding that brother back. And that's a question for Igeu after he dominated Mulegna at EFC, right? A fantasy. Who would win between Igeu Kabesa and Losene Keita? But before then, let me see Themba's comment. He says, Dricus can't talk about me. I got more info on him and his team than many. He must leave my name out of his mouth. Oh boy.
What the
At this
hell?
point, I'm even scared of the things that Themba will say if they put a microphone in front of in front of him and they ask him about records because it's going to break the internet.
This is wild.
I'm not sucking on him like the rest of the other African fighters. I don't say yes, boss. How high, boss? I'm not a peasant.
Nice one. Nice one. I love the energy. You know, it's I don't like people that what do you call them? What do you call them again? I've
Mm-hmm.
forgotten the word for it. Like, oh, it involves foul language. leakers, you know. Yeah, leaking people's
So
butts. I don't like it. Be
there is God.
yourself.
Funke.
Hmm.
Anyways, let's yeah. So, question: Igeu Kabeza versus Losene Keita. Who do you think wins?
Igeu Kabesa all day long.
Okay, so here's the thing. I actually think Losene would win because I think even though there's no line for us to make the test between Losene Keita and Igeu. The fact that they've never fought in the same promotion, we've never seen them fight similar guys before. I'm just going to put Octagon MMA above EFC, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, the guy that has been a champion, double division champion in Octagon MMA, the guy that the UFC has called him and he refused to go, the guy that has the capacity to actually train with more people than Igeu Kabesa does. I think that guy has the edge to win. I think I'm just going to because we don't, as I said earlier, we don't have a baseline to make that judgment. But
The
I
comparison.
think Losene Keita would win because of where he is at. Themba says he pissed me off. He came to my inbox saying I acted poor, where I helped people and got broke. So Themba is still Themba is like we renewed the anger in Themba in
I'll tell
Themba about
you,
this.
my man is
Yeah, because
pissed off.
Themba is still on this thing. Um, yeah, it is well documented the things that Themba has done. It's very well documented. As we know, it's one thing to spend rands in South Africa and another thing to spend dollars in America, right? And when you fly to America because you are on a UFC contract, when you go to fight camp to train for a fight, most especially your first contract, we know how realistic it is. We know so many UFC fighters with on their first contract that are not full-time fighters, they are doing other jobs. So we know how what the reality is. Me and you are living abroad. We know how
It's a different ball
a
game, man.
country works. A country works like in the UK or in America, right? When it
Mhm.
comes to bills and the things that you have to pay, it's not straightforward like that. So I would totally understand. We know many UFC fighters that were homeless even after fighting like 5 times in the UFC. So for Themba to be in the UFC doesn't necessarily mean that he is loaded with money. Um, yeah, Jesse. I think definitely losing Keita will win, most especially because I'm putting European MMA above African MMA. Because African
Mm.
MMA,
You,
I've
you,
already said it, Igeu Kabesa is like the final boss of African
I
MMA.
see, I
But
see. You guys are doing credential over potential. Don't worry. I
yeah,
just pray
yeah,
his
yeah.
visa issues get resolved. That guy is a beast.
And you guys that are here, please remember there's a guy called Musasa, Josias Musasa from Congo. He fights at Kamaru Usman's MMA promotion. He just got signed at Dana White Contender Series. He's going to fight Dana White Contender Series. Look out for that guy. That guy has range and he has precision and he has bazooka in his hands. He never goes past the first or second round. You guys watch out for Josias Musasa, another African fighter from Congo. He's going to be on the Dana White Contender Series. Themba says, Screw Dricus. Whenever I see him, I wished him all the best and all. Um, yeah,
I wish him
we
the
also
very
wish
best whooping from
we
Israel
also wish him
Adesanya.
the very best. All right. I think I think that's a good place for us to end this episode. It's been really interesting. I actually like episodes where we get engagement from the live chat. Friends of our show, Themba Gorimbo, Jesse Donoway, thank you so much. We got Frederick. Frederick came in for a minute there. Shout out Frederick. Shout out Kamal. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's all love out here, man. We were off past 2 weeks because of life. But yeah, we back. Next week you are going to see us. And hopefully I'm going to break a good news for you guys next week.
Okay, there we go.
Anyways, the African fighters, let's inspire our people. There is more to life than an titled guy. Oh gosh.
What?
Oh
What?
boy. Yeah.
That is a lot.
Again, I'm just putting this out. I think we're gonna make a post about Musasa. You guys really need to check out Musasa. Josias Musasa. I'm going to type his name here in the chat. Josias Musasa. That's him. Look up Josias Musasa. This guy is next. I promise you guys. This guy is the shit. He's gonna go to Dana White Contender Series or September this year, and
And
he's going
smash
to
it.
do it. Yeah, smash everybody. All right, thanks, guys. This is me, Chibro, African Fighters, and this is my boy, King
King
Dames of the King Dames
James.
podcast. We really appreciate you guys stopping by. And
There
before
we
we
go.
go, I'm just going to invite Bruce Buffer in here. Bruce Buffer, can you get in here? Yeah, it's time to go home, guys. Thank you so much. Love, peace, and hugs, all the good stuff. Please like, subscribe,